Hello YouTube, it's the action figure grader, also known as John, coming back to you with an unboxing video. I hope everyone had a very nice weekend. I certainly ate too much and felt bloated this morning, so I went to the gym, ran for about 2 hours, and I smelled like bantha poodoo. So after this video, I am going to be getting a shower because I smell terrible. But before I do that, I wanted to do an unboxing. I did get a figure in. It actually was they tried to deliver it on Saturday, but somehow I missed it, and so I went and picked it up this morning at the mail, and here we are. It's a vintage Lili Ledy, as you can see in the title of the video. For those of you who may be new to collecting vintage Star Wars figures, Lili Ledy is a Mexican manufacturer that in the mid-'80s they made their own Star Wars figures down there, and I included a few of my Mexican and Lili Ledy figures along beside it here. So let's take this one out of the box and see what we have, and we'll talk more about them. Hold on one second. And we are back. Look what we have here. What I purchased is a Lili Ledy Reese. He is one of Jabba's denizens, hence I decided to put him in front of the Jabba's kind of diorama I have on one of my shelves, so you can kind of see how he fits in. For those of you who don't remember Reese, he didn't have much screen time in the Return of the Jedi, but he was such a cool figure with his ugly face. He reminds me a lot of me, actually, but you can see Reese there. And this is the Lili Ledy variant. We got, let's see, 1983 Lili Ledy Star Wars loose action figure. All the Lili Ledys have no COO, which is what those dashes mean, but you know, they're made in Mexico. And gosh, sorry about the lack of focus there. But anyway, Reese, glossy green boots, 85 near mint plus. So he's a Lili Ledy, and you know, a very interesting character. I mean, good lord, look how ugly this dude is. I mean, he is just one of the ugliest dudes. And I don't understand how he gets his shirt on with those gigantic man hands. Good lord. Those hands are seriously ugly. But somehow he manages to get that brown shirt on. And this has the glossy green boots. There's a few other variants, which I'll talk about. There's his weapon, which is kind of cool looking. Sorry about the lack of focus. There we are. And here's the back of the figure. Man, he is one ugly figure, though. But it's in great shape. I mean, you can see Lucasfilm Limited there. There's a number of variants. There's one that's made in Hong Kong. There's a Taiwan version. There's a molded hands. There's a painted hands version. There's a light brown boots version. There's about 4 or 5 different versions of this Reese figure. But this is the Lili Ledy, and I didn't have any graded Reeses before this. I did pick up another one yesterday, which is on the way. I think it's a Hong Kong variant. So we'll compare them when that arrives. But you know, the Lili Ledys, some of them are very, very rare. I don't remember the exact total. I should have looked that up before I started this video, but they didn't make every single vintage figure. They just made a select number of them. But some of the Empire Strikes Back figures, like Luke Bespin or Yoda, some of those are very, very expensive, and even in low grades. But Boba Fett is probably one of the more expensive ones. There is a removable cape, removable hood Jawa that is very, very expensive, you know, several thousands of dollars. The Bib Fortuna, which is another Jabba's, kind of, you know, Jabba's right-hand man. You can kind of see him there on the right. But there's a Lili Ledy, there's 2 Lili Ledy versions of that. The typical gray cloak version still goes for quite a bit of money, $600 to $800, maybe less if you're lucky, but there's also a red cloaked version of that instead of the gray that you see there. Lili Ledy made a red kind of burgundy cape version, and that one is very, very expensive. You're talking several thousands of dollars for that, even in a low grade condition. But anyway, nevertheless, I do have a few Lili Ledys here, and I'll show you those just since we're on the Lili Ledy subject. This is the Gomorian Guard, and you can see there it's marked on the label. I don't know why this thing's not focusing. There it goes. Anyway, that came back as an 85, and you can kind of see that there. Looks very similar to the Hong Kong versions. I also have a Macau version of him. And we got Lando in his skiff guard outfit. Again, this is not a difficult figure to find, but it can be kind of expensive in high grades. You can see that there. It's at 85. The Lando is known for the darker skin. There's I believe a Hong Kong version that also has darker skin, but it's the Lili Ledy is known for kind of dark skin and the dark brown color on his armor. I mean, on his uniform. But another very nice Ledy. There's the back, so you can kind of take a look at that. And then my last one is the Vader. This one is the Lili Ledy 85. Vaders are not hard to find either. There's a number of them for sale. They can be kind of expensive, but if you're patient, you can get one of these for a reasonable price. But looks very similar to just the standard Hong Kong or Taiwan version. But I believe the center piece on his chest is a little bit different with different paint molds, and the head has a little bit longer neck, if memory serves me. And then I also have this Vader, which, you can see the neck exposed there. It's a little bit longer than the standard Hong Kong version. But this one is marked as a made in Mexico. And longtime collectors, or maybe more experienced collectors than me, can answer this. But from what I understand from reading on the forums, there's a great forum website called Rebel Scum that talks about made in Mexico versus Lili Ledy on the AFA grading labels. And from what I understand reading online, AFA will mark them as made in Mexico. Again, like you see here, made in Mexico versus Lili Ledy. That's a U85, which is nice. Versus Lili Ledy, for a couple reasons. If it comes from a standard Kenner back that's made down in Mexico, and has accessories that are Kenner accessories and not Lili Ledy made accessories, then they're going to mark that as made in Mexico. Or if it's a Lili Ledy figure with Kenner accessories, or if it's just Kenner accessories but it's made in Mexico. And so it's a little difficult to kind of tell when you're just looking at the figures. I can't really, just looking at the two Vaders, I can't hardly tell, other than maybe some slightly different colors to the figure. But that's what I understand, is that if it's marked as made in Mexico, then it has Kenner accessories, or it came off a Kenner back card. Lili Ledy had their own cards, which are very hard to find, and it has a Lili Ledy logo, kind of where you see the Kenner logo, I believe. It might be up in the upper right, I can't remember, but that's kind of the line of demarcation. So if you have a loose figure that came off of a Lili Ledy card, that it'll be marked as Lili Ledy on the sticker, versus one like this that is a Kenner back card, but it's listed as made in Mexico. So this one's a 1983 Kenner Star Wars 77 back A Darth Vader, made in Mexico. This is a really high grade 85 card, 85 bubble 85 figure 90. So one of the better carded figures in my collection. And but this is made in Mexico. It's a you can see right down here where it says made in Mexico, versus a Lili Ledy backed card, which would have that difference. One thing to note with these made in Mexico cards, if you look at Return of the Jedi right there, you can see there's a little hole punch inside. That's standard for all, straight out of the factory, for all made in Mexico figures. They for whatever reason, they punched a hole in the back to let the figures breathe inside the bubble. And so you'll see that for any made in Mexico carded figure that you take a look at. It may not be in that exact spot, but it just happens to be inside the O for of. But that's one thing to look for, to make sure that it's a legitimate made in Mexico figure versus a recard. If it's recarded, you won't have that punch on there unless somebody faked that as well. But anyway, here's kind of the back of the card, so you can take a closer look at it. But it'll have that hole in the back, and then it'll say made in Mexico down here. But anyway, that's just a few of the Mexican and Lili Ledy variants that I have. I just thought you'd like to take a look at those. But this is the new edition. I don't have many Lilies, but this is a nice one. It's it came back with a really high grade, and You know, he's so ugly. He really is. He reminds me a lot of myself. So that's really all I got. I hope you guys are all doing well. I might have another vintage figure coming today in the real mail. I had to pick this one up from the post office, like I mentioned, but when Mr. Mailman comes today, I might have one more, so we'll see. But that's all I really had. I hope all's well, and I'll be back here sooner than you think. Talk to you soon.